Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our taster session this afternoon. Again, it's a pleasure to have all of you here with us, and I'm seeing all our attendees are logging in and signing on. Welcome again to our taster session this afternoon, where we are going to give you a hint of what it would be like if you decide to come to the University of the West Indies and do our project management program. My name is Nataki Kuhl. I'm the Brand and Student Recruitment Marketing Manager here at the University of the West Indies. And it's our pleasure to have this session just for you this afternoon, where we just discuss project management to make sure that you have all your questions answered, to make sure that you get a glimpse into what our program is like, our very exciting program, because our deadline date for applications is coming up soon. It's on July 31st, 2024. And we want to make sure that you are equipped with all the information you need to sign up with us at the University of the West Indies to do our program in project management. But before we begin this afternoon session, just a few notes, a few housekeeping things. Please keep your microphones on mute so that our session could go seamlessly. And also, we would love to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. Our team is eagerly awaiting all your questions in the background, eagerly awaiting the questions so that we could answer all your questions. So please send us all that you want to know, all your queries. Please talk to us in our chat. Let us know what you're concerned about, what you need to find out, because in addition to a fabulous sneak peek into our lecture this evening, we also are here to answer all your questions on project management. We will also have a brief question and answer session at the end of the lecture so that we could try and answer as many questions as we can during this 1 hour session in the chat and also online. Now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today's session, Mrs. Joanne Cook-Walcott. Joanne Cook-Walcott has kicked off her HR career over 30 years ago, climbing the ladder to senior HR roles, eventually becoming a consultant herself. Her diverse experience spans private, public, unionized, and non-unionized sectors, making her an HR generalist with a knack for talent and organizational development. Now, she runs Persolve Limited, providing top-notch HR services and workshops across the Caribbean, impacting over 800 leaders and professionals. She is one of our part-time lecturers for the MSc in Project Management at the Faculty of Engineering, and it is my pleasure to welcome her as she gives you a sneak peek into our wonderful project management program. Mrs. Cook-Walcott, over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Nataki. Let me just say it's great that we can be here. I just want to say that we're showing our resilience already. Those of us who are here on time throughout the weather, the inclement weather that we've been having, notwithstanding all of that, we are here to just have a little bit more understanding about what we do in our project management roles, as well as what we offer in the specific program that I teach, which is leadership, project management, leadership, and behaviors. And so today I thought it would be useful for us to talk a little bit about resilience, not just because we're in a hurricane season, but I think we can all benefit from understanding what resilience is all about. So without further ado, let's just get started. And of course, I invite you to, just send me any questions that you may have as we're going along in the chat. I am keeping abreast of what's been happening in the chat, and there will be an opportunity, of course, for you to also just participate and just get ready to share your knowledge and share your thoughts as we explore the whole idea of resilience a little bit more. All right, so just to get some quick feedback, and I'm looking at the chat at this time, so if you can just share with me on the chat, tell me when was the last time that you actually did something that you truly enjoyed, right? Tell me when was the last time that you invested in an activity that you truly enjoy. So for me, I love to dance. The last time I've done that, couple of years ago, but I do get a chance every now and again to dance at a party, to dance, you know, at home when we're playing music. But when was the last time you invested in an activity that you thoroughly enjoy? Let me know. Or maybe you can tell me how quickly you would be able to name 3 persons that you know you could rely on those 3 persons. Anybody here has more than 3 persons that you can rely on? I wonder. If not, tell me, when was the last time that you made a mistake, but you learned something new as a result? Do we have anybody who's willing to unmute and share an answer to any of these questions? If not, feel free to just offer your answers in the chat. I'm looking out to see whether anyone is able to offer their thoughts on whether they've been able to learn from a recent mistake, or when was the last time they've enjoyed an activity that they were, you know, they pursued or participated in. I'm going to give you a minute to just send us some feedback. All right, so if you are truly having issues thinking through, in particular, item number 2, that you can't find 3 persons, well, you're in the right program. I'm seeing here from Kathy that that you were participating in a Lions feed where you were able to feed 5,000 persons, and your disaster relief activity over the past 2 weeks. So you were able to do that, right? And that would have been a couple of weeks ago, given what has happened in St. Vincent and in Grenada. All right. So I'm imagining, I'm seeing someone saying that she could quickly identify parents, both parents and yourself. Yeah, your mom, dad, and spouse. Good. So as you gather your thoughts around these questions, would you be interested to know that if you were able to answer them quickly, and if, of course, your answer to those questions suggests that you do regularly enjoy things that, you know, that you enjoy doing, that you like to do, that adds to your resilience. If you can quickly identify those 3 persons whom you can rely on, that is an indicator that you can have some resilience. And of course, learning from your mistakes is another indicator that you are on the pathway to being a resilient person. But that's not all. And let's talk a little bit more about what we understand to be resilience. So I know that you guys know that resilience is all about bounce back ability. That's what we say. But it's the ability to work with adversity in such a way that when you come through it, you come through it better for the experience. And some of us come through it unscathed. All right. So resilience is when we face the difficulties and the challenges that we have, that we face it with courage. We know that we can do it. We know that we can get through it. We face it with patience because we know that we will see the other side. Let's look at this particular quote. Resilience is rooted in a tenacity of spirit, a determination to embrace all that makes life worth living, even in the face of overwhelming odds. And you can't help but reflect on our sisters and brothers in the Caribbean islands who would have gone through such a horrendous experience in terms of a hurricane. We ourselves have our own Trinidadians and Tobagonians who face adverse circumstances as a result of that same storm, but more recently, some flooding issues that we've been having. And I'm sure all of us perhaps knows someone who has been a victim, a recent victim of perhaps crime or death. We all experience something in our lives, in our history, in our experience that causes us to either doubt, to fear, to be concerned, to be worried, to be anxious. And if we're not building our resilience, any of these challenges can truly impact on us in a negative way. So what resilience is being able to survive in today's world and to triumph in spite of the challenges that we face, during the crises that we face, during the challenges that we face, because let's face facts, we are living in some very interesting times. As Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump is giving his speech, doing what he normally does with bravado and with certainty and with, his normal gumption, and did not realize that in the space of a few microseconds that his whole life, his whole family's life could have easily changed. And of course, I think it did change him somewhat. He's a little bit more subdued. We'll see what that means later on. But the point that I want to make is that we all of us, are not immune from facing challenges, either at work, in our personal lives, or around us, that we all have to come through. And why we're focusing on resilience in project management, because those of us who are in project management know that inevitably we are going to face circumstances and we're going to face issues that we may be having with the project that is going to create an opportunity for us to demonstrate resilience. And why I'm suggesting that we all need to do what we can do to become more resilient is because resilient people really are more successful because they accomplish more, meaning in spite of whatever has happened, they are determined to continue doing what they can, doing whatever they need to do to get ahead. They innovate, and this is important. They innovate and they improvise in terms of, if they're not able to stay on the course that they're on, they find a new course or they create a new course, right? They just improvise or innovate so that they can get back on track or, get ahead of the challenge that they're facing. And despite all of those odds and obstacles, they achieve success. So if you're thinking of project management, or if you're in project management already, and you understand the rigors of project management, and even if you're not in project management, you certainly understand the rigors of living, right? All of us can benefit from resilience and building our resilience. So why we need resilience in project success and project management, in leadership? We need it because we're living in a very dynamic, and I would dare say, just volatile world, just volatile environment, just a volatile circumstances that we face in our present times. And because of that, we're encouraging our leaders to embrace the understanding that we all need to build our resilience, right? So because we live in very dynamic and volatile times, we are facing a lot of uncertainty. And that's why we're saying that more of us are required to operate with ambiguity as well as risk. And some of us who are in project management already know that there's so many aspects, so many elements, so many moving parts that we all need to manage. And so one of the key things that we need to do in understanding the success that we can gain around project management is how can we resiliently face the tasks that we have and generate success notwithstanding some of those obstacles. So what I want to tell you is that if you keep experiencing these emotions, anger, fear, guilt, embarrassment, those emotions, as valid as they are, and I'm not here to tell you otherwise, but those emotions, as you experience them, are indicators that your resilience may be a little low. And so, I always encourage my students, and we do look at emotional intelligence as one of the key success factors that as project leaders, we all need to embrace, and we all encourage our leaders to become emotionally intelligent. And so if you understand what that means, you would understand that self-awareness is the start of emotional intelligent leadership. And so when you are emotionally intelligent, you understand some of the emotions that you're experiencing. And what I want to say now is that, of course, if you recognize that you're facing any of these emotions, whether it is anger or sadness and guilt, any of these emotions that we have here on the screen, then you know that you need to build your resilience a little bit more. Because the only thing that we can do in response to what is happening around us, sometimes we can't change what is happening around us, but one thing that we can control is our response. Our response to what is happening is going to determine our future success as project managers and as leaders. So here's a little bit about how we can do that. But first of all, and I know that we should have in our chat a questionnaire that you can all fill out. If you don't have the questionnaire, I'm going to put it here on the screen. I've just put it up here on the screen, and you'll be able to see by answering these 12 questions whether in fact you are resilient or not. So you guys are all seeing these 12 questions. Let me just bring this up a little bit so that you can see them all together. All right, so let's just take a couple of minutes. I'm going to give you guys 4 minutes to do this. And then, of course, I want you to score your responses and add them up. All right, you shouldn't get more than 60 because there are 12 questions and you can only score each of those questions from 1 to 5. So go ahead and answer those questions, score yourselves, and let's talk about what those scores mean. Can you just have another minute again? If you finished answering those questions, go ahead and score it. You don't need to share your score with us just yet, but go ahead and score it. Just add all the totals, and you should get a score that is either less than 60 or equal to 60, depending on how you would have scored yourself. Okay, I hope everyone would have been able to finish your score. I'm going to go back now to the original screen, and I'm also going to invite you to take part in our poll. And let us know where you fell in the score. All right, so you would have added up your responses, and based on how you scored, I'm inviting you all to share where you fell in your scoring. And of course, you've already started doing that. I also have up the screen that kind of gives you some feedback in terms of what that score really means, right? Whether we're practicing enough resilience or whether we need to do some work to build more resilience. I'm going to give you some time to finish scoring and totaling your responses before we end our poll. Okay, so just half of you have responded, so I'll just give you another minute to quickly respond. Those of you who've responded already, if you like, you can share in the chat any insights that you may have in terms of, are you surprised by your score? Did you find the process insightful? Did you find it revealing in any way? Oh, I'm so sorry that you weren't able to participate in the questionnaire, but we could probably get that to you another time. So if you lost connectivity, it's still in the chat. So just check your chat and see if you can download the question, and then you'll be able to score yourself thereafter, okay? So Joanne, I'm hoping that you've been able to do that. All right, so we have 66% and counting of persons who would have answered and participated in the poll. I think I'll just give you a couple more seconds before we close off the poll and get the results of how resilient our audience is at this point in time. You might be a little bit surprised. Okay, I'm already getting some feedback. Person saying, Priscilla saying that she was surprised but found it insightful. Any other comments? Anybody found it interesting? Anybody found it not so interesting, or no surprises in terms of the scores? Share your feedback. All right, so let's go ahead and close the poll. We don't have responses from everyone, but we need to move on. So let's just see what that means. All right. Are you guys seeing the results of the poll on your screen there? So what it looks like is that most of our participants, 39% of our participants are believing that they demonstrate a strong level of resilience. I feel I want to send the ODP to you guys' houses. Let's just see if you guys are really resilient enough to weather any storms. But we also, interestingly, have 33% of persons who have an established level of resilience. And we have 17%, 3 persons who have an exceptional level of resilience. And then we have 2 persons, 11% of our participants who would like to work on their resilience because they're still developing their resilience. So thank you so much for participating. Thank you so much for sharing those results. All right, I'm going to go back now to how do we truly develop resilience. All right, so I'm going to move on from this, and we're going to take a look in terms of what we can do to demonstrate resilience, and then we're going to look at how do we build our resilience. So resilience can be demonstrated by us building our competence in these 4 areas. We need to build our confidence, we need to build our social support, we need to become more flexible and adaptable, and we also need to demonstrate purposefulness. These 4 competencies are what is required for us to build resilience. So what does this mean? So confidence, of course, is when we just have this inner knowing, inner knowledge in ourselves that we can do something. Yes, we may have support from persons outside who are telling us, yes, we can do it, but we don't even need that. We just have that ability from within to believe in ourselves and to believe in the fact that we are confident, we are competent to do what we need to do. And so confidence, and we understand why confidence is required, because confidence is going to allow us to make that next step. We are going to feel certain about what our next steps are, notwithstanding the fact that we have an obstacle in front of us. Now, social support is required because we understand that life can throw things at us that can get us down, that can challenge us a little bit, that can leave us feeling a little doubtful or a little tired and stressed. And so we need support around us. And some of you have already indicated that you do have some support around you. You do have a network of people whom you can rely on to be able to manage your stress and to depend on for support, an ear to listen to. And so social support is an absolutely necessary requirement for us to develop our resilience. In fact, the research has shown that persons who have less than 3 persons in their inner circle, actually the results for youth are less than 5. So our young people need a lot more support. But certainly as we get older, if you have less than 3 persons whom you can rely on for support, you are actually at risk. You are at risk for self-harm, and you are at risk for even suicidal tendencies and depression. So guys, social support is something that all of us need, and we can build. All right, nobody is saying that you have to limit yourself to only 2 persons or only 3 persons. You can certainly build more support around you at your workplace, in your home, around you with your friends, in your church community, in your actual residential community. You need to build support because clearly, and I know that the pandemic would have taught us that, clearly we need the support of others to help build our resilience to face what we have to face. Now, adaptability is required because it is adaptability that is going to allow us to bob and weave and to find new things, new innovations, or improvise and do different things to be able to move ahead, notwithstanding the challenges that we're facing. People who are adaptable, who are flexible, who are agile, are often more successful than persons who are more resistant to change. And so I say to you, those of us, and you know yourselves, those of us who really balk at the fact that, we're changing things around or we have to do things differently, embrace this opportunity to build your adaptability, to build your flexibility, because that is what is going to lend you to being more and more resilient. And of course, purposefulness is that focus that we need. It is our purpose that gives us the direction that we need to achieve the goals that we set and allows us to become successful in spite of the odds. And so when you add these 4 elements together, confidence, social support, adaptability, and purposefulness, we are all on our way to developing the resilience and to building the resilience that we all need to face life. Now, in addition to the fact that, we all need resilience, I want to say to you, all of us need to lead also in that respect. And even if we're not necessarily a leader in our work context, meaning we currently don't have a title that says, we are a manager or a team leader or whatever authority or power position that you've been given, we are still in a position to demonstrate resilient leadership. But if you are in a position of authority, certainly you want to also demonstrate resilience in your leadership, and you also want to build resilience around you. All right, so one of the things that we ask leaders to do all the time is to try and build resilient teams. And how we do this is by making sure we have persons who understand and value their competence, who also demonstrate confidence in what they do, who are able to, just think out of the box and innovate and so on. And so we also need to be sure that in developing resilience in ourselves, we can also encourage people around us to also become resilient. And if you think about it, encouraging the people around us to be more resilient offers us even more of a buffer when we face some of the obstacles that we have. Because it is those persons around us who are going to offer advice, they're going to offer us support, and even help in, moving around those obstacles that we come across so that we can achieve the success that we need. And so we also need leaders to be aware. And remember, I did talk about the value of being self-aware in terms of emotional intelligence, but just as leaders, you need to be conscious of what is happening around you and conscious of what is happening with you. You also need to practice cognitive restructuring and positivity. All of us need it. And what this simply means is that we need to practice adopting a mindset that we will get behind this challenge. You need to practice a mindset of restructuring your thoughts in a way that allows you to see the possibilities and the opportunities instead of seeing the obstacles. You need to build awareness, build up your perspective so that you can truly deepen the possibilities that you would be able to identify as you navigate your working experiences in life. Of course, building relationships, and we know why, because when we build that support around us, we then have more persons that we could tap into for that support. And of course, resilient leaders also understand the value of taking good care of themselves. Now, all of you may be practicing all of these values and perhaps demonstrating competency. Those of you in particular who would have scored quite high, I would just love to hear from you in terms of whether you see any value in some of these approaches, in terms of if you believe it has helped you to become more resilient. So I'd love to hear in the chat whether you can share with us any of those strategies that we just looked at, whether they have in some small way helped you become even more resilient and build your resilience into what it is. So feel free to go ahead and chat with us, or if you like, we can have the mic open for a couple of seconds to allow you to just share some thoughts on some of those strategies that we just talked about in terms of resilient leadership. Anybody wants to share anything? If not, you can open the chat and share any thoughts with us. As resilient as we are, we're not putting ourselves out there to offer any insights. All right. Some of the other things that resilient leaders also do is that they build capacity to be flexible. They build adaptive capacity. And in building adaptive capacity, you would need to be conscious that the persons around you must also have the wherewithal to become adaptive, to become flexible, to be innovative. And so, as a leader, if you wish to build adaptive capacity, the first thing that you want to do is be consciously hiring persons who are self-motivated and who are highly self-motivated. Our high self-motivated persons are people who bounce back very easily. Those are people who they don't stay, negative quite, for a very long time. It's very hard for them to stay under something. They find ways to be motivated and to come out of the situations that they're in. And so if you wanted to build adaptive capacity in your team, it starts with you making sure that when you hire persons who are capable of being self-motivated. Of course, you also want to promote learning, as well as you want to promote that the persons around you in the team should be flexible, innovative, and have the capacity to make decisions that will help build their abilities to see them through those obstacles that they may come by. Another thing that you want to do as a leader is to build strong relationships and to use those strong relationships to get ahead of the obstacles. All right, so leveraging strong relationships is a key principle in becoming a resilient leader. And so all of us should be aware of the value of networking, the value of engagement, the value of collaboration. And we know, and if you look around you and you look at people whom we know to be resilient, right? And feel free to share with me in the chat, or you can raise your hand and share who stands out in your mind as a resilient leader. Do you have anyone in your consciousness who stands out, a role model, or anyone, a world leader that may stand out as someone who can be described as a resilient leader? If so, this is someone who clearly would have deep, strong relationships with their customers, with their community, with their suppliers, which enables them to get the support that they need, to pivot if they need to pivot, and to be able to build support as they move along around the obstacles that they may face. And most importantly, in the midst of the obstacles that they face, it's those strong relationships that are going to allow you to build the synergies that you need in your team. And when you build those synergies, you're going to find it easier, not just for you to demonstrate the resilience, but for the team to demonstrate resilience and to find opportunities and ways to get what they need to get done, notwithstanding how difficult things may be. Another thing that our resilient leaders do and need to demonstrate is readiness. We have to all be ready. And we see it all the time in terms of our hurricane preparation. We start getting the messaging, we start seeing notices coming our way. Do this, do that. Be sure this is in place. Be sure that you've done these things, all in an attempt to be ready if in fact we have to face those adverse conditions. And this is the same thing. What we have to do is be prepared as we go through life to understand that we will face challenges. We will have obstacles, but our readiness is going to determine our success in navigating around those obstacles. And so as we build readiness, we need to keep in focus what our mission is, what our goals are, because that is going to help direct us. That is going to be our North Star that will help provide us with the focus that we need to keep moving ahead and give us the direction in terms of how we can pivot and maneuver to achieve the success that we need to do that. We also need to just build our ability to be aware of what is happening around us. And so constantly communicating with our team, constantly communicating with the stakeholders that we're engaged with is going to help promote that environmental awareness. And of course, giving access to the right types of information when it is needed will also help in building our readiness. And of course, we all need to invest in planning so that when the time comes, if we are called upon to exercise that level of diligence by virtue of some of the steps that we've exercised, some of the things that we've done in the past that helps build our resilience, then it's easy for us to draw on those experiences. It's easy for us to draw on those tests that will help us demonstrate resilience as we go through those particular scenarios. So I have just shared with you why it is important for us to demonstrate resilience in a particular way, and why it's important for us as leaders to become more and more resilient and more invested in building a resilient team. And so if we can just, is it possible for us to place people in breakout rooms just for a couple of minutes so that we can have some discussions around how we can build resilience through building adaptive capacity by leveraging strong relationships and by building readiness. So is it possible at all that we can just have a couple breakout rooms, if we could just divide everyone equally, and we can just have those persons in the breakout rooms just respond to this opportunity to build resilience by sharing some tips. What I'm asking you guys to do when you go into, we can't do breakout rooms, unfortunately, but here's what we can do. If you can share at least one tip that will help build adaptive capacity, or help build strong relationships, or help build readiness, if you can just share any one tip that you have, let's just take those tips and see how we can build on that. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of minutes to just share on the chat. If you can share one tip on how we can all build adaptive capacity, or how we can leverage strong relationships, or how we can build on our readiness. Let's just do that very quickly. Anyone sharing any tips? Just one tip? Okay. So Mia, I think you're on to something here. Yeah, in terms of leveraging strong relationships, ask for what you need. Yes. You know, when we build a community around us, we have to be able not just to be able to rely on those persons to help us when we need it, but we must also help build that community that we have around us. It has to be a symbiotic relationship for us to both benefit from those experiences. And yes, you're quite right in terms of how we do that, by asking for what we need and by supporting each other when we say, look, I need help. Yeah. So Priscilla is saying by demonstrating good communication and trust. You know, trust is an interesting competence. It's an interesting value, particularly when you're looking at the working environment, right? And in project teams in particular, how do we build trust? But it's absolutely necessary for us to have, you know, the trust that we need to have to be able to depend on each other, to be able to know that the information that we share can be trusted. Yeah, so definitely good communication and trust. Renata is saying, start with yourself, right? Work on yourself first, and then by you demonstrating confidence and by you demonstrating positivity, maybe the others around you can, by you modeling those behaviors, other people around you can also demonstrate that. Thank you. Rihanna is saying you can leverage strong relationships by rewarding and praising others. Certainly, by reinforcing the positives that you see in others, you are building people by doing that. That's great. Emotional intelligence, certainly, Harry, emotional intelligence is a pathway for developing resilience. And if you want to build resilience, you can also do that by demonstrating and building your emotional intelligence. And certainly by demonstrating calm under pressure. And those of you who know a little bit about emotional intelligence would understand that, you know, in demonstrating emotional intelligence, you have to be self-aware, and then you also have to control yourself so that you take the opportunity to present your best self in that circumstance. And so when you are looking to, you know, deal with a situation that is a challenge for you, certainly by staying calm, you are able to demonstrate that you are collected enough to find opportunities that perhaps if you were more emotional, you would not be able to find. Have brainstorming sessions, certainly, after an unexpected hiccup on the team. Absolutely. So that everyone can share and plan for resilience together. You know, sometimes leaders feel that we have to do it all on our own. And I'm so glad that you guys are understanding that building the community and building the team is one of those ways where not only to build resilience, but to build the talent around us to dealing with the issues that we may have. Good listening skills, absolutely critical as leaders that we demonstrate listening, but also for us to develop the supportive relationships that we need to demonstrate good listening. Kathy said she tried to cover each area. Thank you so much for that. So continuous learning, you want to stay curious and proactive in acquiring new skills and knowledge. In terms of conflict resolution, you want to learn techniques to manage and resolve conflicts, to maintain positive relationships and deal with things constructively. And finally, you want to anticipate challenges by staying informed about potential risks and challenges that may arise. Fantastic. And Kathy is also saying that you want to ensure that for your team or the members, that in your capacity as president, in your capacity as a leader, it's wise to develop a contingency plan. And we all know that as leaders, we all need to build that adaptive capacity by making sure that we are engaging in a planning process. I think those are fantastic tips that we can all adopt. Those are tips that we all should be practicing on a day-to-day basis, whether we are in a leadership role or not. And I just want to leave you with a couple more tips. So first of all, it is going to be difficult for us to demonstrate resilience if we ourselves are not, you know, in our best shape. So you have to consciously take care of yourself and, excuse me, consciously believe in yourself. And how you do that, you manage your stress, excuse me, you build your confidence, and be sure to read the triggers that you know are going to tell you that you're too tired or you're getting emotional or angry. And certainly do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Invest in sleep, invest in proper nutrition, and do what you can to physically take good care of yourself. Develop strong support around you, not just in your personal life, but also at work. It's so important for us to develop support at work. Very often, we are faced with challenges, particularly in our project management responsibilities, that requires us to reach out to, whether it is to suppliers or customers, to get buy-in to do certain things. And so developing strong support is absolutely, absolutely critical. Practice positivity. It's going to help you in terms of your cognitive restructuring. We talked about why strong relationships are important. Focus on what you can control. And of course, again, practice continuous learning. So folks, just to quickly recap everything, resilience is absolutely required in today's very challenging and very dynamic and volatile environment. And so all of us, whether we're managing a project or not, are going to be called upon to become resilient, more and more to demonstrate resilience. Certainly, if you live the project life, you know that that's happening almost on a day-to-day basis. So resilient leaders are equally needed for project success. I know that those of us who are already in project management, we know that there's a couple of things that will lead to project success, how we pay attention to our budget, meeting our deadlines, and managing the resources that we have. All of those definitely lead to success. But trust me when I say that it matters when you lead a project to lead that project with demonstrated resilience. There are other competencies, of course, that are going to be important. But in addition to those factors that we manage on a day-to-day basis, we also need to lead effectively. And of course, build team resilience. So not only are you interested in building resilience in yourself, but also to build resilience around you in your teams. So folks, I hope that I've been clear in demonstrating the value of resilience, the value of building resilience around you, even if you yourself as a leader or even as a professional, even if you yourself are resilient, there's so much value in building resilience around you, whether it is in your workspace, around your team members, or even in your families, right? You can actually build resilience in children. You can also build resilience in the people around you. So I hope that, I've had you thinking of what are some of the things that you can do to maintain and build the resilience and to develop resilience leadership. I just want to thank the university for giving me this opportunity to share these thoughts with you and invite you to ask any questions. If you want to just unmute your mic and be able to do that, I'm sure you can just raise your hand and I'll pass you over to our host to be able to field those questions. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cook-Walcott. That was very interesting. I was quite engrossed in the whole lecture. And for all our attendees who have signed on, just as a reminder, this is just a snippet, just a taste of what a typical class in our postgraduate program in project management could look like. And I must say, we do have excellent faculty. Mrs. Cook-Walcott is a part-time lecturer in the program, so you'll be sure to learn from her, share with her. And as you can see, it was a very interactive session. We had a survey, we had some discussion, and I think quite a few of us did some self-reflection also during the lecture. So thanks very much for that. So let's see what questions we have. Folks, we have about 10 more minutes before we close off this afternoon, and our team in the background has been answering questions while the lecture was going on. We've had several. One of them was, is the program open to a graduate from any discipline or faculty? And we were able to answer and let our attendees know that there are specific programs that we look at in terms of undergraduate study. However, it's really assessed on a case-by-case basis, and you should still apply and give us the opportunity to make an assessment on your particular area of study and maybe some years of experience you may have had in project management. We also consider all those things when looking at our applications. Just as a reminder that our deadline date for applications is July 31st. So we want to make sure that you have all your questions answered. We've had several other bits of information that has been shared on the chat. We've shared our brochure, we've shared phone numbers that you can contact us at the office here at the St. Augustine campus. We've shared all the information we have on project management from the UE website. And you're very welcome, Cherry Andy. And she said that she really enjoyed your presentation, Mrs. Cook-Walcott, and she thanks you for your contribution. I think everyone is quite excited, and we're happy to hear that. And someone is asking about the approximate cost of tuition. And I'll just like to ask our team in the background to just resend, because remember, some persons may have come in late resend the brochure that would have all the financial information that our participants would need. Another reminder in the chat, someone is asking, Samantha is asking if she could submit 2 professional referees as opposed to 1 academic referee. And I know that we're going to be answering that question pretty soon. Actually, we're answering it now. All the information is just being put in the chat. As I speak, it just appears. So guys, please pay attention to all the information. It's quite a lot. And Mrs. Cook-Walcott, maybe you can help me with this one. Marlon is asking about if the course is online or if it's blended, if it's in class. Can you tell us a bit more about the classes for the program?
So we do have a mixture of opportunities for persons to do it remotely as well as to do it in person. As a matter of fact, I have conducted courses entirely to remote persons. We've had students from Guyana, from other Caribbean countries. So there is an opportunity for you to benefit from this program in a remote capacity. And there are also, not my particular lecture, but there are lectures that also have, in addition to a blended environment, do in-person programs. So you really have an opportunity here as a working professional to benefit from using the technology and also to benefit from the classroom experience, which we know is a rich environment where people can, just share their thoughts and ideas and benefit from that experience as well. So you get the opportunity to do both. Even if you don't want to, if you're not able to attend classes personally, certainly you do have the opportunity to benefit from the rich environment that we have over our very, very rich classroom experience online, so that we use all the tools that are afforded to us to be able to make the experience a very interactive one. You'd find that the university has really done a tremendous job of bringing all the technology into the students' hands so that they're in touch with faculty all the time. They experience the live courses, even if they're not able to attend, but they also can, of course, enjoy the remote opportunities that are available. A lot of assignments are also done online. And of course, we have the opportunities as well to, if you prefer, to come on campus and discuss in class or discuss with your lecturers.
Okay, thanks very much. I'm seeing Nathaniel is asking, he says he doesn't have experience in project management or very much knowledge in this field. Do you think he'll be at a disadvantage if he wants to do your program?
Absolutely not. So we've had students, you wouldn't believe. I've had persons who came from pharmacy. I've had persons who would have in their time before done agriculture, would have done so many other different things. The point that I want to make is that all of us need to have project management skills. I have a human resources background and I need project management skills because more and more work is being done in projects. So I don't know what work experiences you guys have had, but you will find more and more that you are asked to work on projects. You are, given assignments that are monitored like a project. And so having this project management discipline and understanding how to manage projects in a real sense is going to benefit you in terms of your career. It's going to enhance your professional skills. And it certainly is going to add to your leadership opportunities.
Yeah, that's very correct, because I know that project management, it goes across all disciplines, even in our private lives, and maybe we may have private roles in various communities and so on. It runs across everything.
It does, yeah. It's skill that everyone needs. Doctors need to manage projects. They may have case managers. They may have case management issues that they have to look at as a project. And so, like I said, the project management skill and competence is something that will benefit everyone. Yeah. And certainly if you're dealing with, many projects in your work environment, and you find that it's difficult for you to bring, the skills that you have bear on a successful project, then doing this program is certainly going to equip you with the skills that you need. It's certainly going to equip you with the understanding and the knowledge that will help you to confidently manage projects that come to you.
Yeah, I think that's very correct. Nathaniel says thank you. So I think he got his question answered.
You're most welcome.
And again, Doc, yeah, we really are running out of a little time. We did say we're going to be here for an hour this afternoon. We've managed to answer quite a few questions, provide quite a lot of information. And I would just like to thank Mrs. Cook-Walcott again for sharing her expertise with us this afternoon. I know her time is precious, but she was happy to come and share with you and let us know exactly a little glimpse into the program. But before we go, I just have one question for Nathaniel, who really wants to get his questions answered before we sign off this evening. He was just asking about the success rate in terms of, I guess, how persons are passing, what kind of success rate we've been having with the program. Have persons been able to manage the program? Can you just give us a little insight on that before we go?
Sure. So I would say the success rate is over 95%. Over the past 2 to 3 years, I'm aware that that's what the success rate has been like. You really have to try very hard not to apply yourself to fail, right? We have persons of all ages in the program, persons who would have recently completed their degree programs and after a year to come back and to do their master's studies. We have seasoned professionals. We have persons at varying levels in the organization, and they all find success. It really is a question of whether this is something you feel you'd like to do and whether you apply yourself. It's not a difficult course to do at all, but of course it requires you to just follow up with the work requirements, the coursework that you have to do the reading that has been assigned and apply yourself, and you can achieve success.
Yeah. And I'm seeing 1 or 2 other questions, and I'm still going to take them because, again, we really want to make sure that our team here, our very interactive team here this afternoon, is comfortable and ready to meet our deadline date of July 31st, deadline date for applications. Harry just wants to know, what do you look for when accepting applications? Harry, if you note earlier in the chat, I believe we had some information with regards to what we look for when accepting applications, but I don't know if Mrs. Cook-Walcott wants to jump in here and just add her 2 bits.
So I know for sure that there's some qualifying criteria which will allow you to be considered for the program.
We had put those up before.
I'm sorry?
We had put those up for Harry before, so we could just probably just copy and paste those. But is there anything else in terms of experience or anything else?
No, you don't need to have any previous experience in project management. All you have to do is be interested, of course, as well as to demonstrate by virtue of your interest that you are capable of applying yourself. And I know that that's definitely one of the things that we have found is directly related to people passing the program, whether they are interested and whether they're disciplined enough to apply themselves.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks so much for that. And all those who are with us this evening, please rest assured that we do have some contact information for you. So we'll be reaching out within the next 48 hours. So I would say by Monday or so, to make sure that, you know, you got all your questions answered. Maybe you may think of something after the session. Maybe you have specific questions that pertain to your situation, and we want to make sure that we customize our response to suit your specific situation. So again, thank you for everyone for coming out. We had quite a large group this afternoon, even though we had inclement weather. We appreciate your time. We are happy to share with you and just give you a little snippet into what our class could look like. And I'm seeing that everyone had a good time, was able to learn and develop and chat. And that's what we are here for at the University of the West Indies. So again, thank you. Thank you to our wonderful lecturer, Mrs. Cook-Walcott. And thanks to all of you. Thanks for attending our taster session on project management. Please have a good evening.
Thank you.